Aloha and welcome. I am Tony Silva. Welcome to another episode of Kuka with our kūpuna. On behalf of Keawe Mamo, thank you for joining us on this wonderful day here in Hawaii. Here with me I have David and Mealiʻi, and they're from the American Indian Association or Ohana in the islands?
Well, we actually have an organization here in Hawaii called Oahu Intertribal Council, but that is from way back when the organization was formed back in the early 70s, the Hawaii Council of Native American Nations, and also the American Indian Powwow Association.
Started in the 70s.
In the 70s, yes.
So
also, there's a greater community that is kind of above and beyond that we just kind of like get together when we can.
So when we refer to it, it's American Indian? American?
Yeah.
What is the correct terminology for our viewers? What is comfortable?
I prefer identifying myself as my native tribe.
Okay.
So my family comes from Red Rock, Oklahoma. We're Oto Missouri, very small tribe in Oklahoma. There's maybe about 3,000 of us that's registered on the rolls.
Okay.
But I'm also Native Hawaiian.
Okay. Oh, wow. So we got Native Hawaiian and American Indian.
Yes.
Awesome. And then how about you, Dave?
Well, my family started in Delaware on the beach, and there was a real estate issue. And so then they had to move to Ohio.
There were a lot of real estate issues
right.
for American Indians back in the days, but we won't get into that in this episode. But I like how you said that. There's some real estate issues. That was nice of you for saying that. We had a few real estate issues here in the islands too.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So they moved to Ohio, and then another real estate issue, and then they moved to Indiana, another real estate issue, and they ended up in Kansas, and then so they ended up in Oklahoma. So I've got Lenape, Cherokee, Potawatomi, and Miami. Basically, Indiana was the first Oklahoma, and they thought that was going to be forever, and they were going to stay there. But they kept manifest destiny, and things kept happening. So the governor of Indiana said, "You know what? We don't want Indians here anymore." And they said, "We've got treaties. We're living like the white man. We've got towns and villages and churches and businesses." And they go, "Well, I don't want you Indians here anymore. So you got to leave." So he sent the militia, and the militia came on a Sunday morning when they're at church. And
What year? What year are we talking about right here?
1849, I think.
Oh my goodness.
1839. So then they came in the middle of church, and behind the militia were all the white men with their wagons full of stuff, and they pulled the people out of church, threw them in open wagons, and force marched them to Kansas and left them in the middle of the plains with nothing. They didn't have a chance to grab any food, any warm clothing. The babies died, the old people died. It's called the Trail of Death. It was about the same time as the Trail of Tears.
Jeez, we're going. This is
this is my family.
The genesis of your ohana, your family.
Yeah. So some of them survived,
and obviously they survived. And keep going.
So then the white people said, "Great," just walked into farms and walked into businesses and just took them over. And so that's kind of my old history.
Got it. Yeah. And so let's move on. So mommy and daddy's coming out of this. Yeah, mommy and daddy, or grandpa and grandpa, or great grandma and great grandma, coming out of this, and then they're moving more toward. How did we get from that to here in the islands? How did you come about to the islands of Hawaii?
My great grandmother, she was Indian healer. She was living in Iowa. In fact, my great grandmother was living in Missouri. And they also said, "We don't want any Indians here." And so they had a farm, and she'd married a white man, and so they had to move, because if the husband had died, then any white man could come and take everything, the farm, the animals, all their money, leave her destitute. So they packed up the kids and moved to Iowa, and eventually my great grandmother moved up to Michigan. And she was not, I can't remember, Iowa tribe or Oto tribe. I can't remember what tribe was up there. There's a tribe up there. And so she became their healer. So she was the one that they would go to for all their healing and stuff like that.
And that has been passed down to your generation?
She was very psychic. Okay. And so I do have a little bit of that.
That ability?
Yeah. So she would she was very psychic. She knew when people were sick, So she would start making like a potion. My great grandpa didn't believe in that stuff. He said, "Nah, you go on with you." He said, "No, someone's coming. They got the flu. I'm going to make a potion for them." And he like thought she was crazy. She'd make it, and sure enough, knock on the door, and she'd already have the potion for them. She was really good with like knowing what weather was going to happen. She'd bring in the cattle because the weather. And my grandpa would go, no, it's a beautiful day. There's not going to be a storm, so you better bring them in. But he was good with animals. He taught the dog Tilly to like round up the cattle. So she was like, Tilly, go get the cattle, bring them in. So Tilly would do that, and they're all waiting at the fence. Storm would hit, and then he'd like, bring him in. And she goes, see? And he goes, nah, go on with you. He just never.
She would have had a great job here in Hawaii for our newscasters, for our weathercasting, for sure.
So she was very, and she knew when people would die. She would say, oh, so-and-so's dead.
Oh, it's a gift. That's the tough side of the gift that is just knowing, yeah?
Right, yeah.
All right, so that was great-grandma.
Great-grandma, yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of like, I have that little bit of that, yeah.
And then grandma is born?
And my grandpa.
Okay.
Yeah, and he didn't want to be any part of that. He just wanted to be, he didn't want to be in the farm, so he moved to the factories in Ohio. And then eventually I came along.
Then you came, you come along, and then you're still...
I got to Hawaii 74.
How old were you then? 24. 24. You speaking in native tongue?
No.
You had already been westernized to a certain...
Yeah, a lot of Indians, they get into the... In fact, there's so many who don't even know their culture, because and they get adopted out. It's really a tragedy. So I came here basically summer vacation. I was going to college, and every month I said, I'll go back next month. And after like
a lot of our visitors, they just get stuck here and they like it.
I flew in on the plane, looked out the window, and I go, I'm home. I just knew I was home. And after 10 years or so, I said, I don't think I'm going back. So
and you're here, Dave, and then you're going to school, and then you realize, hey, there's other people like me. They're from...
I ran into Ola. I can't remember. I think Hank Raymond and Ola were basically the two big leaders for the Indian community here.
Here?
Yeah.
In the 70s?
The 80s, by the time that was the 1980s. So you want to talk a little about the 70s before I got...
Well, we definitely got to get the history of Mealiʻi and how she come apart, because she's half Hawaiian as well.
Yeah.
So let's go back, and we'll catch up to Dave here.
Yeah.
Take us back to Grandma and Grandpa.
So Grandpa is full-blood Oto Missouri, born and raised in Red Rock, Oklahoma, and he was, as most children at that time were sent to boarding schools. So Grandpa was sent to the boarding school as a young teenager and didn't like it, of course, and kept running away. And he would go back home to the reservation, and they would come and get him and take him back. The last time he ran away, he said, that's it, I'm not going back home. And he got on a boat. He made it out to California, got on a boat, came to Hawaii, and met my tutu.
Oh,
so
he made a trek.
Yeah.
My goodness. And living on the reservations, he makes the trek because now he's speaking a language.
Yes.
And so Grandpa makes his trek to Hawaii, and he meets Grandma, Tutu, and they fall in love, they get married, and how many children?
So 3. So my mom was the middle child, and 7 siblings we have, but my mom married military, so
another shift.
Yeah, so
another
we
shift.
were all over the mainland. And when Dad retired, 20-something years later, he wanted to come home because both my parents are Native Hawaiian, and Dad wanted to come home, so he brought all us kids back home in the late '60s.
So Dad is for our viewing audience. Dad is military, but Mom has the Hawaiian influence, and then Grandma and Grandpa have the Indian influence. How much of that was shared with you at your age, because they were still alive in your young age?
Yes.
Yep.
So when we lived in Texas at that time, and our reservation is in Oklahoma. So during the summers, Mom and Dad would take all us kids up to Oklahoma for the powwows.
Wow. Yes.
So,
and for the people who don't know what powwows is, let them know.
So powwow is just a Native American celebration where we all get together and share our cultures, connect with our families and our friends. We eat and dance and just have a great time.
The closest thing I can think of that comes to mind most recently is our Fest Pack here in Hawaii.
Yes.
But not just one nation, but all these nations coming together so that we can re-identify with ourselves and where we come from. But this powwow is specific to your
our tribe.
Yes. And so people come in, and then you guys are going up every year. How awesome is that? Yeah. So stop right there. We're going to come back to Dave. Just like Mealiʻi, how was your connection in reintegrating yourself with culture and where you came from?
Cut off from it. I was always seeking it. Actually, I think high school, no, middle school. I actually read every book on Indians in the library. And they actually, the librarian came to me and said, hey, would you do the little report and read this book, read it, and put the little thing in the front about what it's about. I was like, well, why are you asking me? He said, you read every book here. I was like, whoa. And then I had open heart surgery when I was 13.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was one of the first people to get it, and I had a bad valve. But my doctor, he was Cherokee. So he would teach me Cherokee words, and that was the first connection, a real connection.
Now, this is off island.
It's still on the continent.
It's still on the continent.
Yeah, it's 13. Yeah.
And so you're reconnecting.
That's how
doctor.
I reconnected. Yeah. So then, like powwows. See, our powwows are not like the Fest Pack, because it's a community thing where everyone's invited to join in. It's not entertainment. It's a cultural exchange. It's a cultural activity. So everyone come up and dance. When the announcer says everyone dance, he means everybody.
They're coming.
Everybody. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah. And so that's how I started connecting through the powwows. And then when I got here, I met Hank because I'm an organizer for Peace and Justice. So I was involved in a lot of different things like that. And Hank was an activist for the American Indian community, and he was very good friends with Ola. Hank Graham was one of the most articulate men and most brilliant men I ever met in my life. He was just so smart, and he could just, no matter what government agency would ever tried to maybe not do a good deal for the Indians here, he would just talk all around it, and there's
What's his name again?
Hank Raymond.
Hank Raymond.
Major leader for us. Yeah, him and Ola were basically the founder of the community that we had here, right? I don't know. There were other people, but I think Ola was basically the one that kept it all together. There were other elderly women who helped out. But without Ola, I don't think it would have been pulled together.
So that reconnects you.
Yeah, that
with your.
And that's how I got connected here.
Very good.
So then we're back to.
Okay, so Mealiʻi, we come back to you now. So we're reconnecting with that. You've been doing it year in and year out because Mommy and Daddy's taking you back to the homeland, and so you get to really nurture that. But now you're older, yeah, and Grandma and Grandpa is alive until how old?
I was 12, I think, when they passed.
Okay, did that cut off that connection?
Yeah, so by that time we had already moved back here to Honolulu. So then we become immersed in our Hawaiian culture, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new thing.
Yeah,
so,
but also knowing where you came from, so you still have that.
We still have that, but then we're like, okay, we got to learn all of this. We got to, Mom takes us to hula. We go.
We call that double dipping in Hawaii. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Yeah, you get these two rich cultures coming together.
So my siblings went to Kamehameha schools. So they got involved with hula and singing and ukulele and everything. Similar,
right? Similar on the two sides.
Yeah.
You're noticing, and you're probably much better dancers, much better communicators because of it, because you knew and understood the cultural side of both.
And see the similarities.
Yes,
the stories are the same.
Yes, very good. So now that takes you through high school.
Yes.
And you're coming into college.
Yes.
And you're staying home, or you're going away?
Stayed here for the most part, but we did travel back to the mainland. And so we're trying to navigate how do we merge the two cultures, because we're both Native Hawaiian and American
What was the struggle
Indian.
with that?
I think because when we left the mainland to come back home, it was sort of put to the side, because even my mother had to reconnect with her Native Hawaiian culture.
Absolutely, because she's being respectful to Grandma and Grandpa, so she's going up there and says, oh, okay, well, I got to learn this, but she sees the similarities, but now that's been cut off, you're back home, and so now she realized, I got to teach our kids about our culture, and yet now, maybe putting that in the foreground, the background of what's going on in your lives. So what keeps that burning desire to learn about
Mom
the Indian
realized,
side? Yes.
Yeah, Mom realized, that she was missing her home and her family back home. And I guess it was around the early 70s when some women posted an ad in the newspaper and said, there's Native Americans here in Hawaii, let's get together. My mom saw the ad and she said, oh my gosh, we got to do this. So she went to that first meeting and there were elder women who were also Native American and Native Hawaiian, and they just wanted to connect, to bring the community together. And one of the women was also in the military. She was a nurse. So she saw a lot of the military soldiers that were stationed here who were Native American and lost their connections back home and wanted to reconnect, but couldn't do that, you know, because they're here stationed. So these women said, let's get together, let's bring these Native American soldiers and their families, let's have a potluck picnic, let's just start that, making those connections.
We're in the 70s right here.
Yes.
And that was the start, the birthing
was the
of
start, yeah.
bringing our Native Americans together and
Yes,
just
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
getting to know one another. And okay, so now we got that going, and it goes from a picnic potluck style.
Yes.
Dave, are you a part of this too?
No, I'm 1980s is
In
when
the
I
80s.
got.
Okay, so he comes in, Dave comes in a little bit later, but it's going now. We're in the 1980s, and now this is turns from a potluck picnic to a little powwow side where we got not just food, we got a little bit of dancing. Now we get to recognize individual places from where everybody is from and their costuming, their style of dance. Because the one thing I got out of FestPac is that they did not want to be forgotten. And in saying that, the language, the foods, the costuming, the way of different protocol, all of these things coming together. Acknowledgement of that. And so now you have a voice. Now you're getting to express that through these meetings. What was the number one thing you took out of that as you moved forward?
Just building those relationships, and we're not alone. There were so many of us here on the islands, and even now, I think the last 2020 U.S. Census shows that there's over 44,000 Native Americans living in Hawaii right now.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The first, I think the census before that, we were 1% of the population. But then they changed how they do the census, so you could do multiple.
Yes.
So you just check multiple, so
Yeah.
it doesn't say Hawaiian, and
Yes.
and so that brought our numbers
Yeah,
down. So there's
yes.
there are actually more than what the census says.
Yes. Yeah, you're so true about that. And we were talking about that in some of our meetings throughout the weeks leading up to FestPac, is that, you know, you want to be counted, especially during census time, because for every individual, you know, a certain amount of monies are allotted to that particular state, country, so forth and so on. And so in this case, now you think 44,000, but then they're listing 20,000 or 10,000.
Well, this what's 1% of the population? It's like 100,000. No, it's whatever it is. Whatever it's 1% of the population here. That's what it is. So it's less now because they changed how they do the census. We want to talk about the 80s and all that, but also want to talk about how Indians got here in the first place. So this is stories I heard when they first got here, and Ola's one of them. So
we're going back before the 60s, 50s.
How Indians got here?
The first Indians, because like your papa, who decided to get on a boat and travel.
Right.
These Indians were groundbreaking in that they were like, oh no, this is well before.
Before.
Yes.
The first Indians that I know of came here during the whaling days. And because they would hunt whales in canoes, right, on the northwest coast.
Yeah.
And so
makes sense.
The whalers said, whoa, these guys are really good. And they said, hey, you know, be all you can be, you know, see the world and join the whalers. And they're like, you guys smell, and we like it here. And so they kidnapped them. And
oh, no way.
Yes, they brought them to Hawaii, and they're on the ship with the smelly, horrible sailors who were just nice guys, because they were Indians, so they weren't treating them nice. And they saw the beautiful women on the beach, and they thought, you know what, I'm jumping ship. And so they intermarried. So that was the first ones that I know about. And so there's a lot of Hawaiians who don't realize that they have Indian blood because they just became part of the culture, kind of like what.
Unless they take the test, the swab test, Ancestry.com, and see 2% Indian.
They'll be surprised, like, hey, where'd that come from?
Right.
They don't know their great-great-grandpa.
Yeah.
Another group who came was more around the plantation times, they're Cherokees. And they came to work the plantations. They brought in Filipinos and whatever. But the Cherokees had always been, they really tried to be part of American culture. It's like, okay, rather than wiping us out, okay, we'll put on your clothes, we'll live in your houses, we'll have a church. But whenever they did, they always, in the end, got the short end of the stick. So, hey, plantation work, sure. You know, so they came here, and I don't know how long they were here, how many there were, but that was a group who also intermarried. So on the northwest coast, there's a really strong connection. They also had like the big trees over there, fall in the ocean and drift over here, and the Hawaiians go, whoa, nice for a canoe. So some of those there was that connection before they even knew that there was even people. The probably the Hawaiians knew there were Indians long before the first white men showed up here, because they were sailing all over the ocean, right? So they, to this day, you know, the folks on the Northwest Coast tribes, there's a lot of intermarriage going back and forth. And I think that the Squamish Nation actually has a halau. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah.
Oh, within their...
Yeah, there's a halau over there because they have family connection here.
Yeah.
And so it's really...
What tribe is that?
This is Squamish.
Squamish
But all
tribe.
the Northwest Coast, you know. So that exchange of culture was going on. And then in the 1970s, there was the American Indian movement, right? American Indian movement was the American Indians saying, wait a minute, we have rights. You guys are violating our treaties. You know, and then there was Wounded Knee and all that. This got the attention of some Kanaka. Said, whoa, we've lost our language. 1960s, 70s, there was only very few people who spoke the language. The culture was disappearing here. It was all being Hollywoodized for like the dances. Everything's being kind of put together.
And they're seeing the similarities of what's going on.
And the Hawaiians go to the American Indians like, hey, what are you guys doing? And so then that's when the sovereignty movement started. And kūpuna was part of that movement. And that's when that whole thing started. And they said, so what's the first thing we need to do? And the Indians said to the Hawaiians, you need to learn your language. You've got to have your language. Once you've got your language, your culture will come back, and then your whole identity. But without your language, you're going to lose your identity. So they started immersion programs here.
Yeah. And still have them going strong.
Well, it grew incredibly. And like, you know, now you look at what happened on the mountain, you know, one of these kids who went through the immersion program goes up there and he sees they're like starting to get ready to do the telescope. And he's like, oh my God. And he's on his cell phone. And all the people came, they'd all been through the immersion schools. They all knew the real history. They knew that the Hawaiian kingdom had been stolen. They knew that, you know, they had no right to be doing what they're doing.
Correct.
And so that brought everybody. People came from all over.
Many tribes came.
Well, first the Hawaiians, but then, yes, from all over. So prior to that, we'd had Standing Rock, where all the Indian nations came and from all over indigenous people, including Hawaiians. So now there was that connection, right? So those folks came over here to the mountain, and Brad was one of those groups.
Correct.
And he was danced over there.
The connection had already been established a long time ago. It's just that we now had an audience, a worldwide audience, to now say, hey.
The internet.
Yes,
the internet changed it because then Maori could see what was happening in Standing Rock and could see what was happening on the mountain, and the Sami saw it and they came. You know, it's the internet. It changed everything, and it built this whole
network of
indigenous people realized, oh my God, we're all going through the same thing. So up in Canada, the Canadian government is like stealing indigenous land, and there's like little tribe in the middle of nowhere. And now they connected up with people all over the world, and people came from all over the world to help them try to stop the pipeline from going through their land. Without the internet, that never would have happened. So,
absolutely.
So that's kind of like how deep and how strong this connection is. And now it isn't just, Hawaiians and Indians. It's like all indigenous people realizing they're all going through the same thing, that capitalism and corporatism and all that is stealing the land, stealing identity, but it was the language. And once those language schools started, everything else started happening, and you probably saw a really big uptick in your culture just growing, the Hawaiian culture growing.
So very good. So now we're caught up to the time frame 1980s and the history of where our first American natives, American Indian have come through time, and we're here, and it's thriving. We're not just reconnecting, but we understand each other.
Yes.
To the point where we know that language is key, and our voice gets louder as more start to join up. More people come together. Now we have a louder say. Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because all our different community health working agencies throughout the state, country, the world, they generally don't have a voice until we come together collectively. Yeah. Now it's loud and clear. Now we can be heard. Yeah. So our Native Americans, you're here. It's strong. We got our powwows. We identify ourselves. We know who we are, what we stand for. So now we're moving forward.
Yeah.
as a culture, as a nation.
Yeah.
What is the messaging that we want to send to the people throughout that are watching? What do we like to share with them?
Along with what Dave has been saying, so it's our future, our children. We want to be able to pass our knowledge and our culture.
You have children?
Yes.
Mealiʻi?
Yes.
How, children, their names, ages?
My son David, he's 50 now, and then my daughter Rosanna is in her 30s. So, they're both of them have been in and out of, the Hawaiian community, the Native American community, and trying to find their way.
Yes, because they got two to choose from.
Yes.
Have you
yes.
noticed they're leaning more towards one side or the other?
It seems like it depends. Powwow time, okay, let's all do powwow stuff. When it's Merry Monarch time, okay, let's
No kidding. So they're able to do that naturally. How about you, Dave? Any children?
Yeah, I have a daughter. She lives on Kauai. She started the Kilauea Fish Market over there.
Okay.
So go to Kilauea.
Yes.
And Kilauea, that's hers.
How young is she?
She's now on 50-something.
All right.
So, yeah, she was a waitress, and she got tired of working for somebody else, and they had no fish market there. So she said, we should have a fish market. And Better Business Bureau said, amazing idea. Helped her get a loan, and she created the whole thing, the logo, recipes. She's been on the Food Channel. It's one of the most popular places to go to get a really, and she got, fresh fish from Hawaii. So, yeah, she does.
And is she immersed in the culture somewhat? Or?
No, she's always lived on Kauai. She's never lived anywhere else. And so me and her mother, that got split up a long, long time ago. But,
okay.
But she's totally immersed in just the local community over there,
Okay.
Growing up as a little blonde kid in all the Hawaiian schools. And so, yeah.
Continuing on with you, Mealiʻi, so you got your kids.
So my moʻopuna, we're trying to pass on language and dance and trying to stay connected, but we like to, as an organization, we like to go out into the schools and bring our programming to the schools. And Dave is a big part of that because Dave dances and drums and sings. So we go and tell our stories to whenever we get invited to many of the schools.
Immersion schools or public, private, whatever?
We've done universities.
Elementary, intermediate,
yes,
high schools.
Preschools. Yeah.
Preschools.
Yeah.
Because obviously the younger you can get to them and
Yes.
share them, then they're intrigued. Oh, what's this? They've never seen it before.
And then we try to tie it to the Native Hawaiian culture as well. So in Native Hawaiian culture, we do lahala weaving, and Native Americans also have a lot of basket weaving.
Yeah.
So we tried to connect the two cultures together so they can see the similarities and perhaps retain the information, better that way. Well, Hawaiian and Native Americans.
Because a lot of our kids, we don't know the association and we don't have an appreciation
Yes.
for the two and how they so intertwine and mirror one another and are related in so many ways. Dave, you wanted to say something?
I just want to go back to the 1980s for a second, because when I got here, basically the powwows were going, but there was a lot more going on than that because Hank was so politically active. And so between Ola and Hank, they started the American Indian Center. And
Which is still going today?
No.
Oh, it's been...
That's a terrible story.
Ah.
But
well,
and it was 20 years we had it, right?
At least.
So Ola started that as well as the powwows, and they were growing, It's just kind of like organically growing. I don't think that Ola's really trying to make it grow. But because more Indians started seeing the powwows, they were like, hey, and the military guys here miss home, so they would come to the powwow. And so those connections were being made. And Hank was like the political part of it, getting people to understand your culture is really important. And so when they started the American Indian Center, they made sure that culture was part of the program. So the American Indian Center focused on drug and alcohol rehab as well as jobs.
So that's now you're getting funding. You're getting funding to help this cause, yes.
And the last director of that was Hank, and I was on the board for 2 years as a board president. So they brought that in, and so when Indians get have drug and alcohol programs, we use culture to help them. So that was the thing, that's why culture is so important, because nothing else is working for these guys.
Correct. We can certainly relate to that for sure.
Culture
across the board.
It helped them, get back. It's like a really, I don't know, it's like maybe in our DNA that if we're not connected to our culture, then we're kind of lost, And so
no, you are lost.
Yeah,
you can just say that you are lost.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. So so that's a really strong, beautiful connection, and your children are lucky because they've got a couple of cultures there. But it's all related to the earth. The earth is our mother, and that we're all related. That kind of goes across the board for all indigenous people. You're always looking out for the family and for the tribe. The way human beings actually are designed, we're designed to be a family. So in the very beginning, right, you had a family, dad went out and hunted the buffalo or whatever, or fish or whatever. Mom and the kids went and collected berries. Grandma watched the kids, and everybody ate. There was no poverty. There was no welfare. There was no, anything. Like everyone was taken care of. The tribal, then, when you moved to tribe, that was the whole community. And so everybody, like here, everybody's aunt and uncle. Everybody's watching out for the kids. So basically, and it's kind of like socialism. The basic way human beings respond is to be looking out and taking care of each other. The capitalist system is like, you're only about yourself, take care of yourself, and good luck for you. I hope you make it, but I don't have to help you. And so I think that's part of that strong connection, because everyone's part of your family, and you're looking out for them, and they're looking out for you. And you find that across all indigenous cultures. And it's that's what we really need to get back to, where we're all looking out. Because if we're all looking out for each other, then no one's going to be homeless. No one's going to be without health care. No one's going to be without.
If my ears are hearing me correctly, this Native American center that once was is no longer in existence. Funding is stopped, so nothing to really pull the message for it.
Our executive director is a Christian, and she was hooked up with the University of Hawaii. It's not a good story. So, and she said, look, I'll help you get the grant from the Indian Center, and because she thought it was better to go there. And so it wasn't very ethical what the university did, but they applied for the grant too. And they got the grant, and it shocked us. We had no clue. We didn't know our executive director was. I kept saying, where's the grant? Where's the grant? I'm working on it. I had no idea she was working at the UA the whole time. I guess they were going to hire her. It was really not a nice thing. So they got the grant. We freaked out, and Hank, being the political guy, I didn't know there were so many Indians in Hawaii. We showed up at the University with the biggest Indian demonstration in the history of Hawaii. Went to the UH, and the media came, and they were like, oh my God, they stole our grant. They did. They stole our grant. We'll lose everything. We can't afford to run the program, So it was so embarrassing to the UH. The dean or whatever came down from his ivory tower and came to the front of the media. It's like, we're not going to take the grant. And they said, oh, great. We're not going to lose this whole thing, because the drug and alcohol program, and it's been helping people. It's like, oh my God, why did you even do it? It's all about, competition. It's like that capitalist thing, right? It's all about me getting for me rather than what am I going to do for the community?
So they retained the grant?
No, they said, I'll go give it up. And we're like, yay, we got a grant back. And the Fed said, no, you got to reapply next year. There's no way we could have kept the program going without any money for a year.
For a whole year.
So that shut down the American Indian Center. It was really
Has hard. Anyone in your association, a Native American, said, you know what, and stood up and said, hey, I'll be the grant writer for this one, and let's move it forward, let's start it, kick it up again, because it's been, 40 years now?
It's been a long time, but it was a big deal to put that together in the first place. And you got to have the skills, and it was just too much. But they did start Indian Health Services for a while, right?
I think it was with Keawe Mamo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of brought that back. But it's not easy to start from ground zero, and it took them 20 years to get to where they were.
Correct.
So that was really hard on Ola, because she worked so hard to pull that together, and for Hank. But we kept going. So one of the things we would do like campouts on the North Shore, and so we do like kind of a powwow for the weekend, and people go swimming, and we exchange culture, and so we did that for quite a while, just to keep the culture going, so people had some place to go, and that
continued on for how long?
For quite a while, but then Hank unfortunately he went to the mainland, and he crossed over, and there's just too much. It's a lot of work. So May, after her mother crossed over, May took over the powwow, and has been keeping it going, and that's really been the center now for us, focus for people to bring the culture together, right?
So what do we have to look forward to every year, biannually? I don't know what collectively are we doing right now for Native Americans that are located here in the islands?
Well, after that whole thing with American Indian Center, we did have an organization, the American Indian Powwow Association. They were connected, but sort of kept their money separate because they were raising money for powwow. So that was alive. That was still going, and that was run by another gentleman. And so he kept that going for a good while. But because of health reasons, he had to pass it on. So that's when we sort of stepped in to get that going. So we actually were able to apply for a 501c3.
Recently?
So, yeah. Well, it's been 10 years now.
Oh, okay.
So we've had a nonprofit going for 10 years. So we're trying to get the business side up and running, but we still maintain the powwow connection. So we are a little organization. There's about 6 or 8 of us in the core group. And so we do community outreach, we do educational presentations, cultural exchanges, and then the annual powwow every year. So
That annual one is when and where?
so this year is September. It'll be our 48th annual powwow.
48th, right.
Wow.
It will be at Bishop Museum.
And that's been a great connection for everybody.
Yeah, that's in September.
That's in September 2024.
2024.
And is it normally in September every year, or it depends?
Yeah, for the longest time it was in October, the first weekend in October. But when COVID hit, it kind of changed everybody's calendar and venue, space, so we moved it to September.
And it's good for us because on the continent, they do the powwows in the summertime. And so now we have ours in the fall.
Yeah.
So the mainland folks, they can come over here and do powwow.
So normally at the Bishop Museum?
It is now.
Yeah, since COVID, we
Okay.
used to be at Thomas Square for like forever and ever, and then we moved
But
to Magic Island.
They decided to redo the park, move to Magic Island, and that was actually nicer because it had a nice breeze
the
because it's so
water,
hot.
yeah.
But then we got the opportunity to go to Bishop Museum, which has worked out so much better because more people come.
Yeah, because
We're partners with the Bishop Museum.
Absolutely. And they have an email list that they send out to everybody.
People, yes.
So September, do we have an actual date?
21 and 22.
September 21, 22, 2024, powwow there. And that's like an all-day event. How many people?
2 days, yeah.
2 days, you guys. How many people they generally come through the doors?
Well, I think last year the tickets, so Bishop Museum is able to keep track of everybody because there's a $5 admission fee
Correct.
to get onto the Bishop Museum campus. So people, for $5, you get to see the whole Bishop Museum.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and then participate in the powwow.
Yeah.
So Bishop Museum tells us that their numbers, like our event has been one of their biggest most successful.
It's great.
Yeah, because you're not only just dealing with Native Americans, Hawaiians, every culture it's always a draw there.
Yeah.
What's the number one draw for your event that you guys have there?
The number we get a lot of calls from the continent, groups like from Canada. There's a lot of groups that want to come. They've never been to Hawaii.
Yes.
They want to bring their Canadian
Yes.
Native American heritage and share with us.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of dance groups that want to come and reach out
Nice.
to us from Alaska,
Yeah.
California. So every year it's different. We never know who wants to come. They say, can you please send us an invitation letter so they can take it to their council. Their council will help fund their trip here. So every year it's different. This year we're going to have 5 drum groups.
Wow.
That
Nice.
will come and participate.
So this little so-called nonprofit you guys are doing it's growing.
It's growing.
Yeah, it's growing because of the more contacts and relationships that you're building over the years. Dave,
I wanted to tell a story that Ola told me. Most beautiful stories I know. And so anyway, in the old days, in the beginning, the creator lived with the people, and everything's going great. People love the creator, love the people. He said, I'm giving you this earth. Paint what you want on here. This is your thing. I want to see what you guys do with it. And then they go, okay, but then they kept asking the creator for help. Creator, we need help with this, help with that. What's the problem? They say, oh, well, we don't know what to eat. It's like, okay, well, here's corn. Grow this. And it's like, wow, great, thank you. It's like, oh, good. So, and then you think, okay, great, but I want you guys to figure this stuff out. And they go, okay. And they go, oh, creator, we don't know where to live. And it's like, okay, here, build your houses in a circle, and you can use these materials. It's like, oh, great, okay, thanks. Oh, we're getting sick. Oh, no, what are we going to say? Okay, these plants. It's like, look, you guys got to, do this. I don't want to be telling you everything. It's like, I'm going to go someplace where they can't find me. I just got to, give them a chance to, do their thing, and I'll come back and see how they're doing. So where can I go where the last place they'll look for me? He goes, oh, I know. I'll go way out in the forest. It's out in the forest, you know, it's like, oh, this is great, you know, no problems. Here, Crater, Crater. They searched there where they found him. Crater, Crater, oh, there you are. Thank you so much. We need your help. It's like, now what's the problem? It's like the men and the women aren't getting along. It's like, okay, look, you're different in a lot of ways. You got to respect each other. But really, stop coming to me. You got to do this yourself. It's like, okay, where can I go? So he goes to the top of the mountain. It's like, okay, now they're not going to find me. And sure enough, you know, Crater, Crater, you got to help us. It's like, now what's the problem? People are like using these different languages. We're not sure about this and that. And it's like, no, 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 no. Look, you know, you're all going to be different. You got to respect each other. You know, going to be different tribes eventually. You got to like live in peace together. It's like, oh, that's good advice. Yeah, please figure this out yourself. So then he says, all right, where am I going to go? Bottom of the ocean. They'll never find me there. So he goes to the bottom of the ocean. Sure enough, Crater, Crater. Now what's the problem? We're just not sure about how we're going to live together and how we're going to grow as a people. There's this whole world out there, you know. Go and experiment. You got to experiment. You can't keep coming to me. It's like, all right, that's it. I got to figure out the last place they're going to ever look for me. Where can I hide? And I got it. And so that's where he's been hidden ever since. You know where that is?
Where?
Human heart.
Oh.
If you're looking for the Creator, go within the human heart and you'll find him.
You can always find them there,
That's
for
right.
sure.
This is the story Ola told me.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how special and unique. Ola has totally into her culture. She totally understood both cultures, and she understood it was so important to share that. And the people connected with their culture that would help them with their problems, help them with their understanding, help them getting through. It's a really crazy life to live here. It's really hard to live sometimes. But if you got your culture to fall back on and a huge community, not just now in indigenous Americans, but all around the world, you were like, oh my God, all indigenous people are connected. And Ola had that vision, had that understanding. And she never, I don't think ever, Ola really saw herself as a leader. Neither does May. May is definitely our leader, but she would never ever see herself that way because they aren't elected. And they aren't there because they like took charge. They're there because of, she was there and May's there because of just living the culture. And people say, oh, I see what she's living by example. And that's one of the most beautiful things about Ola and about May, who has that same thing, and just, you know, living the culture, and then people are like attracted to that. So I have to thank you and your mom.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming out today, spending time sharing history and sharing where we are currently at in the Native American movement. And thank you for partnering with our host culture here in the Hawaiian Islands. And especially for you, where you're half Hawaiian, half Native American. It's incredible. Dave, thank you for sharing stories about Ola. We honor our ancestors that have come before us. Of course, our ohana in front of us. For those of you, thank you for joining us. Kuka with our kūpuna and the stories that live within. We'll see you on our next episode. I'm Tony Silva. Mahalo. Thank you so much.
Aloha.
Yeah, aloha.
Till we meet again.